China, a cradle of world civilization. The land that invented printing, paper, and gunpowder. And under successive dynasties, the center of a vast empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Himalayas, and from the eastern steppe to the tropical South China Sea. The Chinese call it Zhonghua, the central state, or Middle Kingdom. And for more than 2,000 years, its emperors claimed a divine mandate to rule over Chengxia, all under heaven. Since 1644, this great empire has been ruled by the Qing dynasty. They are ethnic Manchu from the north, though most of their subjects are Han Chinese. By the 19th century, the empire spans 14.5 million square kilometers and receives tribute from many smaller neighbors. Around 450 million people live within these borders, 1/3 of the world's population. It is also estimated that China accounts for 1/3 of the world's wealth. The imperial capital, Peking, and major hubs such as Nanjing and Canton are among the greatest cities in the world. It is a multi-ethnic empire whose self-proclaimed aim is not economic or political expansion, but the maintenance of harmony, a worldview that derives from Confucius, the 6th century BC sage. His teachings have governed society in both public and private realms for 2,000 years. Fundamental values, such as reverence for parents and ancestors, loyalty, and benevolence, seek to create an orderly and harmonious society. It is also one that is rigidly conservative. Young men from well-to-do families spend years studying the Confucian classics in preparation for the Imperial Civil Service exam. This is the only route to the higher levels of the Qing administration. But, governed by scholarly bureaucrats and an emperor who is both revered and feared, China is failing to keep up with a rapidly changing world. For the time being, foreign merchants are restricted to the southern port of Canton. Such splendid isolation will prove impossible to sustain. 1839 marks the beginning of China's century of humiliation. For years, British merchants had been smuggling opium from India into China, a vastly lucrative trade. The consequences for China are an addiction epidemic. But when Qing officials seize and destroy large quantities of the drug in Canton, the British react with force. Using superior naval technology, the British quickly overpower the antiquated Chinese fleet. The Chinese are forced to sign the Treaty of Nanjing, the first of what will later be called the Unequal Treaties. The treaty grants special rights to the British, opening 5 ports to British merchants, and ceding the territory of Hong Kong. A second Opium War soon extends similar advantages to France and the USA. The Russian Empire further exploits Chinese weakness to seize territory in the northeast. While a horrifying civil war, the Taiping Rebellion, devastates South and Central China for 14 years. The death toll is estimated at 40 million, making it one of the bloodiest conflicts in history. While China suffers, her enemies grow stronger. In 1895, a newly modernized Japan, long seen as inferior to China, easily defeats the Qing navy and wins territorial concessions of its own. Westerners mock China as the sick man of Asia, a giant fallen prey to the imperialism of foreign powers, better adapted to life in the modern world. But, by the turn of the 20th century, there is a growing sense of outrage among the Chinese people and a determination to fight back. In 1899, a movement emerges in northern China, calling itself the Society of Righteous and Harmonious Fists. Its members become better known as the Boxers. They are outraged by the weakness of the Qing dynasty, the spread of Christianity, and China's repeated humiliations. Their goal, to expel all foreigners from China, and end the shameful concessions made to them. The Boxers begin by attacking Western-funded railways, Christian missionaries, and Chinese converts. In June 1900, thousands of Boxers enter Peking and lay siege to the area in the city where foreigners live. They adopt the slogan "Uphold the Qing, destroy foreigners." For the ruling Empress Dowager Cixi, the Boxers are a problem, but also an opportunity. Cixi decides to throw the weight of the Qing state behind the Boxers and declares war on the foreign powers. It is a terrible miscalculation. In response, a 20,000-strong Allied expeditionary force, combining troops from 8 different nations, descends on Peking. Amidst numerous atrocities, the Boxers are crushed, and the city is looted by the Allied armies. The Qing court is forced to sign the Boxer Protocol. Under its terms, China must pay crippling indemnities over 4 decades, almost twice the government's annual revenue. This is China's greatest humiliation yet. Under huge pressure to modernize the state, Cixi and the Qing court finally undertake sweeping reforms. The archaic civil service exam is abolished, to be replaced by modern schools with a Western curriculum. The first steps are taken to create a constitution, which will impose limits on the power of the emperor. The military is reorganized along Western lines, with improved officer training, equipment, and weaponry. Its most powerful contingent is the Beiyang Army, based in northern China, under General Yuan Shikai. But many believe the Qing reforms do not go far enough, and that only wholesale revolution can save China. One such would-be revolutionary is Sun Yat-sen. From a humble Cantonese family, Sun was educated outside China, in Hawaii. He is very different from China's old Confucian elite. A Christian convert, Sun speaks fluent English but struggles with classical Chinese. Following his involvement in several failed uprisings against the Qing, he lives in exile in Europe. In 1905, Sun travels to Japan. In Tokyo, he founds the Tongmenghui, a revolutionary alliance whose goal is to overthrow Manchu rule and replace the Qing monarchy with a democratic republic. He advocates the 3 principles of nationalism, democracy, and the people's livelihood. To his supporters, Sun Yat-sen represents hope in a new future. And that future seems to be drawing closer. In 1908, after a turbulent 47-year reign, Empress Dowager Cixi dies at the age of 72. The imperial throne of China falls to a 2-year-old infant, Pu Yi. At a time of crisis and mounting opposition, the Qing dynasty has never been weaker. The 9th of October, 1911. Hankou, Hubei Province. Members of a secret revolutionary society, with links to the Tongmenghui, are making bombs, when there's an explosion. Their cover blown, the authorities arrest and later execute several of the group's leaders. But it only pours fuel on the fire. An uprising breaks out in the neighboring city of Wuchang. Crucially, soldiers of Hubei Province's new army are persuaded to mutiny and join the revolt. After 24 hours of fierce fighting, claiming hundreds of lives, Wuchang falls to the revolutionaries. On the 12th of October, a new military government claims authority in the province. It publicly denounces the crimes of the Qing dynasty and calls on other provinces to join it in overthrowing the monarchy. The revolution spreads like wildfire, mostly in cities and towns, where there is deep-seated resentment against Qing rule. Within 6 weeks, 16 of China's 26 provinces have seceded. In many areas, such as Shaanxi, the ruling Manchu are targeted and massacred. Panic grips the Qing court in Peking. General Yuan Shikai of the Beiyang Army is summoned to crush the revolutionaries. China is soon in a state of open civil war, between Yuan's forces in the north and the rebels in the south. In the chaos of war and revolution, both Tibet and Outer Mongolia declare their independence from China. On the 1st of January, 1912, in Nanjing, the rebels proclaimed the establishment of the Republic of China. Sun Yat-sen, who has just returned to China from the USA, is sworn in as its provisional president. After years of exile, fundraising, and plotting, Sun has finally secured political power. His government immediately begins work on a new democratic constitution and passes far-reaching reforms. Archaic practices are abolished, such as growing queues, the long hair that symbolizes submission to the Manchu, as well as foot binding and kowtowing. In the new multi-ethnic Chinese Republic, all will be equal. Its flag will have 5 colors, for 5 races under one union: Han, Manchu, Mongol, Muslim, and Tibetan. But for now the Republic only occupies the southern half of China, and the success of the revolution remains far from certain. So to unite China and secure the future of the Republic, Sun Yat-sen makes a shock offer to General Yuan Shikai. If he can persuade the Qing imperial family to abdicate, he can be president. Yuan accepts, and informs the imperial family that only by giving up the throne can their lives and comfort be guaranteed. On the 12th of February, 1912, 6-year-old Emperor Puyi abdicates, though for now, he and his court continue to live in Peking's palace complex, the Forbidden City. More than 2,000 years of imperial rule in China are at an end. In its place, the only major republic in Asia. 3 days later, General Yuan Shikai becomes provisional president of the Republic of China. But almost immediately, the revolutionaries fall out with the new president, whose personal ambition is all too clear. Now in opposition, Sun Yat-sen and his allies establish the Kuomintang, or KMT, an evolution of the Tongmenghui. Elections are held at the end of the year, the first nationwide democratic elections ever held in China, though only around 5% of the population are allowed to vote. The Kuomintang win convincingly, taking nearly half the seats in the new National Assembly. Kuomintang leader Song Jiaran, a close ally of Sun Yat-sen, is all but guaranteed to become the next prime minister. On the 20th of March, 1913, as he is boarding a train in Shanghai, he is shot twice at close range. No conclusive evidence is ever found, but it's widely believed the assassination was carried out on President Yuan's orders. China's first democratic elections will prove to be its last. The next year, rivalry between the Kuomintang and President Yuan's government explodes once more into armed conflict. But Yuan's Beiyang army is too strong. The Kuomintang and its supporters are defeated, the party is outlawed, and Sun Yat-sen returns to exile in Japan. Yuan Shikai has successfully grabbed power for himself. China is now in effect a military dictatorship. But the president is unable to solve any of the problems he's inherited from the Qing Empire. He dies of natural causes just 3 years later. And China slides back into chaos. The 1911 revolution failed to establish a stable republic in China. But it does open the way for an avalanche of radical new ideas. Across China, young intellectuals are increasingly convinced that only a total break with China's past can secure its future. Their ideas crystallize in the new culture movement. Chen Duxiu is one of its most prominent leaders. From a wealthy family, Chen had been immersed in classical Chinese teaching from a young age, but later turned his back on Confucian thought. In 1915, he founded the magazine A New Youth, which became home to the most important radical writers in China. As a young professor at Peking University, Chen gathered like-minded intellectuals around him. Such as Hu Shi, who calls for traditional Chinese characters to be replaced by Baihua, which better represent spoken Chinese. Among their students, a young man from rural Hune province, named Mao Zedong. Chen Duxiu and the New Culture movement argue for a complete rejection of Confucianism. In its place, they want democracy, science, Chinese nationalism, and radical social change, including female emancipation and greater gender equality. They will soon have their chance to take these ideas to the nation. In 1919, World War I's victorious powers are meeting in Paris to agree the post-war settlement. During the war, China had sided with the Allies and sent 140,000 men to serve as laborers on the Western Front. In recognition of this contribution, the Chinese expected to regain control of Germany's territory in Shandong. But now news arrives that this colony has instead been awarded to Japan. The response in China is outrage. On the 4th of May, 3,000 angry students take to the streets of Peking. They gather at Tiananmen, the entrance gate to the Forbidden City. Inspired by the New Culture movement, their placards, in Chinese, English and French, call for Mr. Democracy and Mr. Science. Protests spread across the country, uniting students and workers against the government and the Western powers who are seen to have betrayed China yet again. The protests achieve little in the short term, but will come to be seen as a watershed in China's march towards a modern, nationalist future. Many protesters are now disillusioned with Western liberal democracies. Some turn to Marxism, inspired by the success of the 1917 revolution in Russia, which seems to offer a model for total national transformation. Among these converts, the 25-year-old Mao Zedong. He writes, "I venture to make a singular assertion, one day, the reform of the Chinese people will be more profound than that of any other people, and the society of the Chinese people will be more radiant than any other people. Our golden age, our age of glory and splendor, lies before us." In July 1921, the founding Congress of the Chinese Communist Party takes place in the French Concession in Shanghai. There are just 13 members present, who meet in secret. Disrupted by French police, the group moves to a pleasure boat on South Lake. Mao Zedong is a founding member. The first General Secretary is Chen Duxiu. Despite their tiny numbers, they are determined to seize control of China's revolution. Following the death of the dictator Yuan Shikai, China had slid back into civil war. Generals compete to control the government in Peking, while the country is torn apart by rival warlords with their own private armies. Some are little more than organized criminals in uniform. The most prominent groups are the Jili clique, the Anhui clique, and the Fengtian clique, each named after their provincial power base. By 1921, Sun Yat-sen's Kuomintang has established a military government of its own, in Canton. Both the Kuomintang and communists realize they can only obtain power if they first defeat the warlords. Both believe they can use the other to reach their goal. In 1923, with the Soviet Union's backing, the Chinese Communist Party allies itself with the Kuomintang in a pact known as the First United Front. Chinese communists are urged to join the Kuomintang, which is itself transformed with the help of Soviet advisors, funds, and arms. Soviet advisors also helped to set up a military academy on Whampoa Island. It will be run by Sun's chief military advisor, a rising star named Chiang Kai-shek. His aim is to mold the Kuomintang army into a disciplined and effective fighting force. But just months later, while visiting the north to negotiate with the warlords, Sun Yat-sen falls ill. On the 12th of March, 1925, he dies from cancer in Peking, aged 58. His last words, peace, struggle, save China. Sun's death leaves the Kuomintang in disarray, and China at a crossroads. The only certainty seems to be further civil war. For Sun's loyal lieutenant, however, the road ahead is clear. On hearing news of Sun Yat-sen's death, Chiang Kai-shek tells his wife, "If I control the army, I will have the power to control the country. It is my road to leadership." In Peking, the Forbidden City lies empty. The last emperor, Pu Yi, had been evicted by a local warlord and left to seek Japanese protection. Whoever is to lead China now will face enormous challenges, fragile alliances, a fragmented country, and powerful neighbors that seek to plunge China back into an age of humiliation. Can't wait for the next episode? Great news, we already made it. Episode 2 of The Rise of China covers the rise of Chiang Kai-shek as his Kuomintang army takes on the warlords and the communists, forcing Mao and others to undertake their legendary Long March. But once again, foreign predators wait in the wings, ready to exploit a divided China. And if you want to watch it right now, 5 weeks before it's on YouTube, you can head over to prestige streaming service, Nebula. There, you can see this episode, and our entire catalog, ad-free. Plus, every sign-up actively supports our work, as we strive to bring you ever more ambitious history documentaries across a wide range of topics. Nebula is built and curated by creators like us, which means that it's a platform where you're guaranteed to find high-quality videos, made with passion and integrity, about fascinating topics. If you wanted to learn more about China, for instance, we would highly recommend Polymatter's Nebula original, China, Actually. This far-reaching series explores the contrast between the image presented by Beijing and the real lives of 1.4 billion people. Across several episodes, it uncovers the truth behind some of China's most controversial policies, from domestic censorship to assertive foreign relations. So, once you've explored the origins of modern China with epic history, you can lift the lid on contemporary China with Polymatter. And, because this is a Nebula original, you won't be able to see it anywhere else. There are hundreds of other exclusive programs and great creators on Nebula, across all genres. So whether you're after original movies and entertainment, or documentaries covering everything from gaming and film, to science and engineering, you're bound to find something that you'll enjoy. Plus, there's a great, and growing, range of Nebula originals, only available to subscribers. And we've got a great discount for Epic History viewers. The link in our video description gets you 40% off Nebula's annual plan. That's just $36 a year, or $3 a month. Even better, the Nebula Lifetime Plan offers lifetime access, no strings, for $300, and helps Nebula to fund more of its original, creator-owned series. Nebula subscribers also get a monthly guest pass to share with a friend, allowing full access to Nebula for a week. So now subscribers can share their favorite videos with their favorite people. Thanks to all our existing Nebula subscribers, and for everyone else watching, we hope to see you there soon. Thank you to our series historical consultant, Dr. Lily Chang of University College London. Thanks also to Taylor Bradford for advice on pronunciation. And thanks as always to the Patreon supporters who help to make this channel possible, from builders such as Warslark, David Noddy and Uziella, to citizens such as Nova192, Ijmanis and Jack Morant, and heroes like Alex Resendez. Join their ranks by joining us on Patreon, where you'll get early, ad-free access to new videos.